Hey, and welcome to my live stream all about tyres. So if you're joining us, thank you. Russell, I saw your message. Thanks for following. I hope you get a lot out of the channel, and I hope that you can share this video with people you know who you think it might be helpful. So welcome to the live stream, and welcome if you're joining in the replay. Make sure you leave a comment to let me know where you're from and what type of vehicle you drive. So that way I can know where I'm reaching and what type of vehicles are using this channel. I'm going to be reading off some notes that I've taken as well, so if I seem a bit distracted, it's just because I'm just making sure that I've got the right information. Also, if this video helps, make sure you give it a like, that way other people can see it's a good video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you subscribe. And hit that little bell notification so that way you get notifications when I'm either live streaming or putting out new content, so that way you don't miss it. In the next couple of days, I'm going to be uploading the slides that I've got for this live stream onto my Facebook group, but I'll talk about that shortly. All the photos in the slides I just grabbed randomly off the net. None of them are mine. Just thought I'd make that clear. So let's get into the slides, and we can talk about what people want to know. So how much do you know about tyres? So as I was saying, I've got a Facebook group. The link will be in the description of the video. Make sure you go join that group. I'm going to be putting this slide up inside that group, so that way people can get it. Also, I'll be putting updates in that group. It's probably the easiest way to reach people. So there's three main tyre types. So you have highway terrain, all-terrain, and mud terrain. Yes, there are a few others, but these are the three main ones that I usually see. So with highway terrain, it's mostly for road and very, very, very little off-road. It's probably the quietest tyre, and it's probably the hardest compound. So it should be a little bit longer lasting. All terrains, mix of both your mud terrain and highway terrain. I run Cooper ATTs. It's up to the individual. And mud terrains, they're better for off-road. When driving highway driving, it's going to be a lot louder. But the choice is yours. You know what you use your vehicle for. In regards to brands and things like that, different people have different opinions on certain brands and that, and what works best for their vehicle. Me personally, like I said, I use Cooper ATTs. That's just because I do a bit of fire trail driving and occasional dirt road, but nothing too extreme. So you've got the three types: highway terrain, which is 90% road, 10% off-road; all terrain, which is usually about 60% road to 40% off-road; and mud terrain, which is 15% road and 85% off-road. Some people run multiple sets of tyres and they just change them over as they need them. Alright, so the next thing is reading the sidewall of your tyre. So somewhere on the sidewall of your tyre, you'll have the following. So I'll try and highlight this. You'll have a max pressure. So this is the maximum pressure that the tyre can run at safely. You'll have a tyre placard on your car as well, which will say the minimum pressure. The minimum, I'll talk about that pressure a little bit further on, but that's a manufacturer's pressure. So the first number is about the width of your tyre. This is measured in millimeters. It's measured in millimeters. So you'll see that usually, this one's 205, this particular tyre, and the next one is the aspect ratio. Now, what the aspect ratio is the height of the tyre, and that 55 is representative of the percentage of the 205. So this is saying that the height is 55% of that 205. The R, that's in regards to, it's a radial tyre. That is the most common type of tyre these days, but you will get other variants. 16 is the rim diameter, and so you'll have, depending on your rim size, will be depending on what tyre size you get. The 88, sorry, is your load index. So you can see over here, it's got a maximum load of whatever it is over here. It doesn't really matter, but make sure that you don't overload your tyres. Make sure that they're rated for what your vehicle can handle. And you've got a speed index. So your tyre placard specifies what these all should be. But these are sort of the maximum vehicle speeds that you can run it with these tyres, so that they can handle the centrifugal force, the force pushing outwards, so they don't blow out. Oh, sorry, let's go back one. The other thing I'd like to mention is, just here it doesn't mention it, but there's a DOR number. So here it's got 1212. What that's referring to is this particular tyre was produced on the 12th week of the 12th year, so that'd be 2012. This defines the age of the tyre, and I'll go into that a little bit more a little bit further in this slideshow. Make sure you ask questions as well if you've got any questions, whether it be in the live chat or in the replay in the comments, and I'll try and answer them where I can. So now we're going to go into tyre pressure and wear. So tyre pressure is super important. Tyres are the most important safety feature on your car. If you don't have good tyres, it's very hard to stop. Your driving performance and your vehicle's braking, traction, suspension and stability systems depend on your tyres. Correct tyre pressures are crucial. High tyre pressures improve handling. They also improve grip, increase tyre life, and reduce fuel consumption. So one of the best ways to make sure that you have good fuel consumption is make sure that your tyres are at the correct pressure. Sorry, a quick visual inspection of your tyres before you drive off is recommended, so that way you can see if there's any damage to them or not. Low pressures may feel comfortable, but the lower the pressure, the higher the resistance. The more resistance, the more heat that's put into the tyres. Therefore, you're going to have higher fuel consumption, and it could make the tyres more prone to damage. Overinflation also causes less traction, and that's one of the reasons why you need to have the right amount of pressure. So you can see the different variants here. So you've got serious underinflation, which means that the sides of the tyres are getting worn and the middle isn't, which is demonstrated over here. Overinflation, which is this over here, where it's only the middle touching, not the outsides. And this is the correct inflation. So you'll find that you'll have mostly tread on your tyre. If you've got poor alignment, you'll find that only sections of your tyre will wear. And it'll add resistance, and the more resistance, the more fuel that you're going to use. So there's a big discussion about whether you use air or nitrogen So the nitrogen cells are, the nitrogen cells are a little bit bigger. So when you put nitrogen in your tyre, they're harder to push, those cells are harder to push through the walls of the tyre, so therefore your tyre will stay inflated for longer. Also, usually with nitrogen, there's less moisture, so your tyre's not going to corrode as quickly. But with air, it's for free. You can get it from almost any service station, and if you check your tyres regularly enough, you don't have to worry about your tyres deflating. With nitrogen, it's a matter of cost versus time. So if you're not going to be touching your tyres very much, nitrogen may be the way for you. But if you're someone who's willing to check your tyres, tyre pressures, air might be the way to go. So tread depth. So on tyres, when they're brand new, there's usually around about 8 mil of tread. This may vary from manufacturer to manufacturer, but usually it's 8 mil of tread. There is standards for tyres, so they should be all manufactured to the same standard. The minimum legal amount of tread is 1.5 millimeters, and that's where these tread indicators come into play. So when they're level with the surface of the tyre, you know that your tread's down to 1.5 millimeters, and it will mean that you need to change your tyre ASAP. The best time to be changing your tyres is roughly when they're at about 3 millimeters, and that's just because that's probably before safety starts to be compromised, because it's a lot easier to aquaplane and things like that if you've got bald tyres. So yeah, 1.5 is the minimum. So once again, if you like this video, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you hit the bell notification so that way you do get notified when I do put out a video. So another way that you can check your depth is with a depth gauge. They're pretty cheap to find online, and you can just keep it in your glove box, check the depth of the tyre, and yeah, you'll know roughly how much tread you have left, and you can measure across the tyre, so that way you know if you've got poor alignment or anything like that. So on the sides of your tyre, you may have seen these triangles. What they are is they indicate where the tread markers are, and also as your tyre wears, the rubber will move away, or it'll be left on the road, and it'll end up rubbing down to this mark, so you can see also that's roughly where your 1.5 mil marker is. But there'll be multiples of these around the tyre, and you'll be able to see where they are. So Oliver has just asked the question in chat, how will I know the proper tyre pressure when I'm already using bigger tyre than the stock size? I'll touch base with that in a minute, but you'll see there's a tyre pressure on your tyre placard, and there's one on your wheel tyre itself, and I'll explain how I work out what I measure for that. So tyre age, as I was saying before, you can tell the age of a tyre by the numbers on the side. So it'll say 4 digits. The one will be the week of the year and the year itself. The older the tyre gets, the harder the rubber compound gets, and the less traction you'll get out of that tyre. I thought I was doing something really clever. I got a free set of Cooper AT3s off the internet. I didn't realise how old they were before I did my research. And once I put them on the car, got the car aligned, all happy days, hit a bit of water, and I had no traction. What I realized after that is that the tires are really old. So I got rid of them and then got the Cooper ATTs, and they've been great since. So you got to be mindful of the age of the tires, because yeah, the older they get, the harder the compound gets, the less traction you'll get. One thing I forgot to mention, the tread on the tires, that's not for grip, that is for dispersing water. Yeah, all right. So this is your tyre placard. So this will answer your question, Oliver. So every car has a tyre placard. They're usually inside the door jamb, usually the driver's door jamb, and they tell you what the manufacturer recommends, what the wheel and tyre combos are for that particular vehicle. So it'll give you a load rating under normal load and a maximum load rating as well. It'll give you tyre sizes that it recommends for the vehicle, and it should give you tyre pressures as well. So this is the tyre pressures here in PSI and KPA. So for my particular car, the Ford Ranger, I have looked at what the pressures are for my tyre placard, and I've looked at what the tyre pressures are on the tyre itself. So I think my tyre placard recommends 36 PSI or 34 PSI, and the tyre says a maximum of 50 PSI. Now that lower value is based on comfort. While a lower pressure may be more comfortable, it'll give you more resistance, more fuel, where the higher pressure, the less rolling resistance, and you'll get a better tyre wear. I usually run my tyres at 75%, roughly 75% of the difference between those tyres. So I run my tyres at 45 PSI. They're nice and firm, and I'm able to do what I want with them. And you can lower the pressures and increase them as you feel. So what I like to do is, if I'm trying a different pressure, I will set the pressure in the tyres. I'll drive around for 20 minutes, half an hour. I'll get out, put my hands on the tyres, and feel how warm they are. If they feel kind of hot, I know the pressures are too low. Where if I put my hands on them and they're not too warm, I know the pressure's just right. So rotating tyres. So it's a good practice to rotate tyres. That way you get even wear and maximum life out of your tyres. Vehicle drivetrain types will vary how you rotate your tyres. So if you've got a front wheel drive, there's a set of rotations for that. If you rotate your, if you've got a four wheel drive, that'll vary as well. Also, I'd highly recommend, if you have a full-sized full-size spare, make sure that you rotate that through as well. That way you get maximum life out of all your tyres. So the spare tyre. Be aware of what type of spare tyre you have. On your vehicle, you want to have the same size tyre on all four wheels. So while a smaller spare wheel will get you where you need to go, make sure that you change it off quickly. The reason why is because if you have a smaller wheel on one of your wheels, it will throw out the ratio of your diff, and it could do damage. There could be other reasons why. Leave them in the comments if you can specify any other reasons. But I know that you need to run all the same size tyres on your car to run efficiently. If you've got a space saver tyre, these are usually speed limited, and that's because the tyre itself can't handle the forces of a fast spinning tyre, so it'll blow out quickly. One thing you want to do regularly is check the pressure of your tyre. Usually your spare tyre is in a location where it's not seen, so you usually forget about it. But the one time that you do need your spare tyre, you don't want it to be flat. So check that the spare tyre is in good condition. Make sure the age of it isn't too old, because like I said, it'll harden over the years. Even though it's not in direct sunlight and that, it still heats and cools, and the rubber will harden. And you don't want to put it on and then blow out the moment that you put it on. So just make sure the spare tyre is in good condition. Just because it looks good doesn't mean it is. You know, press on it, make sure it's nice and firm. So the next slide we're talking about is tools. So I've only shown 2 tools here in the slide, but some tools that you may want to keep in your car is just something to check the pressures with. I keep this pen type tool in my car if I've got any doubts about what pressures I'm going to be running. I just check it, and that way I can go to a service station and fill it up. If you think that the service station's pressures are wrong, go to a different one. Test it at multiple ones. Make sure that it's all right. That way you get a average, and yeah, your tyre pressures will be right. You can keep a depth gauge, but you probably don't need to carry around that with you all the time, because you just need to check it from time to time to make sure that your tyres are not completely worn. A tyre deflator. If you go forward driving lots, you may want to deflate your tyres for sandy areas where the ground will collapse under you and it will actually form the mold of the tyre. And the flip side to that is you may want to keep a compressor as well, so that way you can pump up your tyres when you're back to solid ground. One thing I like to keep in my car when I'm going off-road is a patch kit. Now, these are just plugs that go into the tyre if it's punched. They're not a permanent thing, but they will get you out of trouble. Make sure that you get your tyre patched properly from a tyre shop, and that's where they put a patch on the inside. Because if your tyre's not patched properly, it will cause a blowout, because any little imperfection in the sidewall will cause problems. If you have any damage to the sidewall of your tyre, just know that you cannot repair any sidewall damage. There's no structural integrity on the sidewalls, so any damage there just means the tyre has to be scrapped. Can be really unfortunate if you're forward driving and you get a rock strike, but it is what it is. So yeah, just be aware of where you're driving and what you're driving on. Make sure that yeah, it's all safe and secure, because like I said, your tyres are one of the biggest safety factors to your car. So now this is a time where I'll answer questions in the chat box. It may be a little bit delayed. If I haven't answered any questions so far, sorry, I'll rephrase that. If you want to ask a question, you can leave them in the comment section below, and I'll answer them then. So just a couple of things. Yeah, tyres. If you've got a family in the car, last thing you want is your tyres to be underrated for your vehicle. You want to keep your family safe. I think tyres are something that everybody should take care of, because if you don't take care of your tyres, it's just going to cause you dramas. Also, with the tyre placard sizes, in some areas, if you go too big, you can get your vehicle defected and you won't be able to drive it. So check with your local laws to make sure that your tyres are in regulation, I suppose you could say. Otherwise, you might need to get them engineered and get an engineering certificate to say that they're going to work with your vehicle. That's something that that needs to be considered when you're going to a bigger profile. Also, make sure the tyre that you're putting in will work with the wheel arch that's in the area, so that way there's no scrubbing or anything like that. Make sure that you, if you haven't already, join the Facebook group, the Insight District. I'll try and post photos and more information up there, and let me know what subject you want me to cover off next, so that way I can put a whole bunch of information together. If there's any information you want me to go into further about tyres, I'll try and cover it. I hope I've covered a lot of information for you. If you've got any, like I said, if you've got any other questions, leave them in the comment box. If you want to, make sure you let me know what type of vehicle you drive and where you're from. It's always nice to know where I'm reaching out to. Like and subscribe, you've all heard it before. And I hope to see you on the next live stream. Thanks for watching.